You have come so far to get here. At times, you probably thought you would never make it. But somehow, in spite of everything, you did. It's funny, standing where you stand now, to think about how this all started. The world seemed so small back then. Like if you took too many steps outside your front door, you would fall off the edge of the earth. The people around you certainly acted like that was the case, moving through every day in ceaseless and unchanging routines, set in stone like they had been etched into the world from the moment of its creation. But you were different. You were curious. And it was that curiosity that made you move through the world differently, freely. Until one day when you walked down a path you had never walked down before. And you kept walking, until you had walked so far that turning around you could no longer see the place you had come from. And you realized something. The world is so much bigger than you could have ever imagined. You could have turned back. You always could have turned back. But you never did. You kept moving forward. There were days when you cursed yourself for this decision. Or rather, decisions, plural. You didn't just make it once, of course. You made it every minute of every day. Every time you willed one foot in front of the other, which wasn't always easy to do. You've seen the way this world can rip people to shreds. You've seen the things with sharp teeth that roam the earth and wait in the dark. Monsters like the ones that lived in the nightmares you had as a child that seem to exist only to mindlessly destroy, like they draw their sustenance from destruction itself. It's a miracle the earth doesn't crumble to dust under the weight of all the evil you now know blankets it like blades of grass. Of course, evil doesn't just walk on 4 legs. Sometimes it walks on 2. And it has a face like yours. And the evil done by your fellow human beings can be so much worse than the evil done by the beasts. It's smarter, more calculated, and in a way more terrifying. When the monsters commit evil, you can write it off. It's just their nature after all. But you know that people can choose not to do that. They can be better. And yet so many of them choose not to be. What does that say about people? What does that say about the world? You've thought about this for a long time, and eventually you came to a conclusion, one you never wanted to come to, that this world was built from the ground up to give evil the upper hand, to ensure that goodness is always outnumbered and outgunned, but not defeated. Never defeated. Against all odds, the light has not gone out of this world completely. You see the evidence of that sometimes. On quieter days when you don't have to fight for your life and you see the sun rise against a landscape more beautiful than anything you could have imagined. Or when you find yourself in a friendly town full of people who can't fight evil in the same way you do, but who fight in their own way by helping to build a world worth protecting brick by infinitesimal brick. But more than anything, you're reminded of the goodness left in this world by the people who have come with you. Those people who are with you every day and who fight alongside you. People who share that same conviction, that hunger for freedom that set you on this road an eternity ago. They can be strange, often intensely so. It occurs to you sometimes that none of you are really cut out for polite society. But they remind you, each in their own way, that the moral response to a world blanketed in evil is to dedicate the fullness of your being to the fight for good. You know, beyond a doubt, that you would have given up so long ago if it weren't for them. Together you have seen enough to last 100 lifetimes, from great triumphs to eviscerating tragedies. You have lifted each other up many times, and just as many times you've wanted to kill each other. And above all, you stayed the course, no matter what. And that has brought you where you stand now, face to face with the God of this world. If you were saying your thoughts aloud, those words would catch in your throat. How did it come to this? You realize you don't have an answer. Not a simple one, at least. In your darkest hours, when all the evil in the world seems almost too much to bear, you have thought that you would like to look the creator of this rotten world in the eyes and ask him simply, why? And that if his answer proved unsatisfactory, you would like to put him to rout. But you never thought you'd really get a chance to make that happen. And yet, here you are. You've raised your weapon of choice against many things much bigger and stronger than you, but this is the first time in a very long time that your hands are shaking so much that you can hardly keep a grip on it. How are you going to make it out of this? How are you even still here? He could rip the skin off your body whenever he wants. He's God. And yet, somehow, you're alive. That sums it up, doesn't it? Not just where you're standing now, but everything that has led to this moment from the day you walked a little farther from your house than you were accustomed to. You should have died 1,000,000 times by now. And yet, somehow, you're alive. And that sentence isn't just a fact. It's an obligation. You can't back down now. You have to fight. For all the good people this world has ground into dust, who you have a chance, however slight, to give some measure of justice. For everyone who helped you in whatever way they could, every warm meal or bed offered, an act of undercredited heroism as profound as anything you've ever done. And for those standing beside you now, who you would die for and who you know beyond a shadow of a doubt would die for you. As you think about these people, your grip tightens and you're able to hold your weapon steady again. The courage they've given you, not even God can take away. You look to your companions for what you know may be the last time. Then you turn back toward your adversary. Raise your weapon with all the strength your arms and your mind and your soul can muster, and attack. This isn't what you thought it would be. Not that you thought about it all that much, but you did a little. Everybody does. Probably. After all, everybody eventually finds themselves in a place where they have to think about this thing one way or another. And there you go again, covering up the reality of your situation with vagaries and euphemisms. This thing. As if that'll make a difference, like it'll put more time on the clock. Enough of that. You're dying. That's a fact. You can't walk away from that. Hell, you can't even stand. This isn't, and has never been, a surprise. Everyone was always completely honest with you that this might be the end, and from the very beginning you had a sense, almost a certainty really, that it was. You wonder sometimes if you should have told somebody that, but it wouldn't have made any difference. They still would have done everything they could for you. They're good people like that. It's not a tragedy either. There probably isn't an exact year where dying changes from something tragic to something natural. But if there was, you're probably past it by now. You've lived a long life. Long enough, anyway. There's no real way to be absolutely sure of this, but you guess that of all the people who have ever been dying, your experience isn't the worst anyone's ever had. You wouldn't rate it 5 stars, but there's no way it's the worst. For one, you still have your mind. Not all of it, but enough. You're able to carry on this conversation with yourself. And when people come by to sit at your bedside, you remember who they are and what they mean to you. That's another thing. You have people who will miss you when you're gone. Not a day goes by that somebody isn't here. They're there when you're awake, and they're probably there when you're asleep, too, which has been steadily taking up more and more of each day. And often, people are there that shouldn't be there at all. People who went before you. Sometimes a long time ago. You brought this up once, and we're told that it's not uncommon at all. In fact, it seems to happen to the majority of dying people. You're not sure entirely what to think about that, but it's not bad, at least. And it's right around the time you start thinking like that maybe this isn't all so bad, that the invisible heavyweight boxer hovering above your bed punches you in the gut as hard as he can. He does that a lot whenever you're at risk of getting too comfortable. The pain has been with you a long time, since before it was clear you were dying. But for obvious reasons, it's worse now, almost unbearable at times. It'd be absolutely unbearable if you weren't fortunate enough to be dying in a time and place with easily available pain medicine. Even then, it never completely goes away. It probably could with enough chemical assistance. But if you get too high, since that's all it really is, you begin to lose yourself. And you can't afford to let that happen. You don't have the time. So you ask for just enough to keep the pain from frying your brain, but not enough that the relief fries your brain either. The boxer is still driving his fists into your gut, but softer. and you're able to continue your conversation with yourself in spite of your slow disintegration. In a way, it's an act of rebellion against both your own body and God, maybe. As soon as you have that thought, your mind goes a place you didn't expect it to go. You spent a lot of time in this bed remembering. Most people do when what's behind is so much more vast than what's ahead. But this one is different from the others. It almost feels too small, too insignificant to be pulled out of the ashes of the past. Regardless, the memory is in your head now, so you follow it where it leads. Really, it's a bunch of memories stitched together in such a way that you can't quite tell where the seams are. Memories of the other times you fought God all those years ago. That way of putting it makes it sound more momentous than it really was. When you were younger, you were a big fan of Japanese role-playing games, back when you had time to play games that took dozens of hours to finish. You played so many of them that by now they all blend together. You're not even sure if you can recall any individual names. But you remember one thing, and that's how many of these games ended with killing God, like a remarkably large number of them. People have had theories about why that was the case. Something about Japanese culture and history and how religion and whatever got mixed up and whatever. But you never thought about it much back then. It was just fun to end a long game with the biggest final boss possible. It was something that made you feel cool, made you feel strong. It's only now, when you're weaker than you've ever been, that you see it in a different light. That those fights against God weren't literal scraps with a specific deity from a specific belief system. They were ways of confronting the fundamental, unanswerable questions at the heart of being itself. You were not. You are. You will not be. Why? Maybe that's what God always is. Both the abyss and the infinite tied together and given a collective name. Something to call out to. And something to take up arms against. You take up arms every time you hold on to your selfhood in the face of immense pain that threatens to tear your consciousness apart. Every time you give every last measure of your focus to this indescribable inevitability closing in on you. The people who have accompanied you, both the ones who sit at your bedside and who reach out to you from across the veil, are each joining you in the fight in their own way. After all, it is a great act of rebellion against this slow disintegration to act as a testament to the fact that some things do not disintegrate. Love doesn't. Ever. At the beginning of this particular train of thought, you made an observation that dying wasn't what you thought it would be. Why not? Because, in spite of everything, you're not afraid. You're sad, you're exhausted, you're in a lot of pain, but you're not afraid. You don't know what will happen when you conclude your time in this body. If darkness or light will fill this room. If you'll find yourself face to face with God or something else or nothing else. But you know you'll be ready. That you will not shrink from fear at the immensity of it. That you'll look your adversary head on, summon all the strength you can muster from every place you have left, and attack. After all, you've been there before.